everyone, and on today's vlog, we're going to be discussing Hues and Cues, a guess game of colors and clues by the OP Games. Let's get into it. Hey Sarah, how's it going?
Hey, I'm well. How are you?
Good. So, what are we discussing today?
Today we're talking about Hues and Cues. It's a sort of party-esque style game where we are trying to get our the players of the game to sort of guess a particular color on this gradient scale here by giving them clues about that color. We were able to play this game with a friend of ours. They did not want to be in the vlog though. So we appreciate them playing with us, especially because it is a minimum player count of 3. However, since they didn't want to appear on the vlog, I'm just going to explain the game to you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we felt about it, but we aren't going to do like our traditional standard vlog video where we talk about the game and then do like the mid and end points of the game, because we did play the game off camera with our friend who didn't want to be recorded, and we are just going to talk about the game now instead.
Jump in it.
Yeah. So, Hues and Cues is sort of a guessing style game where we are trying to give people clues so that hopefully they will guess our color. So the way that it works is on your turn, you take the top card of this deck, you look at it, you don't show anybody else, but you look at it, and you choose one of these colors that you're going to be attempting to get people to guess. I am going to choose... I think I'm going to choose this color right here to try to get people to guess. So G10 is kind of where I want people to be. So I'm going to find G and 10 and we follow that down and it is going to be this space right here. So this is kind of where I want players to be at the end of the round. I want them to be somewhere near this space. So what's going to happen is on my turn, I am going to get to give 2 clues to get people to guess this particular shade. The first clue that I give has to be a one-word clue, and then every player gets a chance to put their little cone on the board wherever they think my clue is directing them. Then I get to, if I want to, give a second clue, and this one can be up to 2 words, and it can maybe give people a little bit more direction on where to place their second token. Now, I can choose not to give a second clue if I want to try to prevent players from getting points, because not only does the clue giver get points in this game, but also players who made accurate or close to accurate guesses about the color. So if I don't want to give my second clue, I don't have to. The second clue can be up to 2 words, but either of my clues, my first or second clue, has to abide by a couple of rules. The first is that I cannot say any particular color. Like I couldn't say it's a light pink. I could use sort of abstracted terminology for colors, right? Like I could say rose, or, you know, lavender or something like that, but I can't say pink, blue, green, that sort of thing. A second rule about this is that I cannot reference the board or areas of the board. I couldn't say like middle board, right? Or like edge or something like that. So I can't reference specific areas of the board, and I also can't reference anything in the room. So if I think that a particular thing in the room looks a lot like this color right here, too bad, can't tell you that. So those are the only rules I have to follow. Let's say for this color here, the first clue that I'm going to give, let's say, I'll say blush. Okay, so players are going to take these little cones that they have, and one at a time, each player is going to place their cone somewhere on the board where they think I'm trying to get them to go. So maybe one player thinks blush looks like this. Maybe another player thinks it looks like this. Maybe one player thinks blush looks like this. And maybe one player just absolutely didn't get the memo that the word was blush, and they ended up all the way over here. Okay. So then what happens next is I can give my second clue if I want to, a 2-word clue. Maybe I'll say dusty rose for my second clue, right? Then again, all the players would go around and they would put their cones on the board in places where they think that it would relate. Then we're going to take this little guide right here and we're going to find my my particular spot on the board. So G10 was here, I believe, right? Yep, here. Now this is going to go right over G10, so that G10 is in the direct center of the guide box here. Now, any player who was on this space, the very exact space that I was trying to get people to guess, any player that's there is going to get 3 points. And I should mention that only one player can ever be in any one spot. So at most, it could be one player who could get 3 points. Any player who's inside of the box is going to get 2 points, and any player that would be adjacent orthogonally or diagonally to the outside edge of the box would get 1 point. The clue giver gets 1 point for every single person who's inside of the box. So if I got people close, then I get 1 point for every single one. If the guessers got close or they got it spot on, then they also get points. So what would happen right now is only one player was inside of the box. So I'm blue, I would get 1 point for that one person being inside the box. And then white, since they were inside of the box, but not on the exact space, they would get 2 points. That would be my turn. I would discard this card. The next player would get a card, and we would carry on. We'd do the next round. You can play a variable number of cards based on the number of players. So the more players that you play with, the fewer cards you play to. Yeah, so that is kind of the basics of Hues and Cues. So what did you think of the game, Nick?
I enjoyed it with a bigger crowd. Definitely, as when we played it as a 2-player, it wasn't really. Again, it's not meant for 2 players. It's meant for 3 to 10.
3, yeah.
And it only takes, there's a 3-minute, time set on the box where this is how long you're expected to play the game is 30 minutes, and that's pretty accurate. You can go through the game pretty quick with even 10 players. I mean, you're all.
Yeah. So the way that the variation in scoring works is that if you are playing with 4 to 6 players, everybody gets to be the clue giver twice. But if you're playing with 7 or more players, then everyone is just the clue giver once. So they do a pretty good job of keeping it consistent no matter what the player count is, time-wise. You had mentioned an idea about sort of having like a themed.
Yeah, so you could also, add to the game where if you just don't want to, pick colors out of, just coming together, you could be like, well, let's come together and do a theme night. And then when you come play this game, you can be like, well, the theme night is fantasy terms, so your clues have to be fantasy related. Or you could, Halloween, you have to somehow do the horror. I'd be very interested to see what you go over on the blue and purple side, but I mean,
I actually kind of like the idea of having sort of a theme to the game or even the round, because I am not a super creative person. So to me, this is, I'm much better at like mathematical things than sort of creative things. So to me, when you're like, describe a color, I'm like, okay, well, if I could do that with like percentages, it's 67% yellow and 13% green and 10% blue or whatever, like I could do that. But describing colors sort of in like a creative or like artistic view is a little bit more challenging to me. So I think having themes is kind of a neat idea, because then it to me, I don't know, it gives you some place to start mentally. For the clue giver, if you have a clue, let's say that we're gonna do this one right here, and the fantasy theme is been chosen for the round, then I can be like, okay, how does this relate to a fantasy setting? Where might I see this color in a fantasy setting? And that sort of helps me to prompt my own mental
process, and you can narrow down to something quicker and faster.
Exactly.
I mean,
because this is just a gradient board here, and without being able to narrow it down for me, it's like, to me, this is just like, okay, well, there's a lot of purple, and then there's some blue, and then there's some green, and it's just, to me, like, even trying to come up with clues like, the Hulk, or,
Or ice,
yeah,
or like
or
water,
ice,
or ocean.
or polar ice caps or something like. To me, like, I'm like, I don't know what that means or looks like, or what you think that means or looks like. So I like the idea of having like sort of a theme to go with. I don't know that it would necessarily, air quotes, solve my problem of thinking more linearly, but I don't know.
Yeah. So what do you think about it, Sarah?
I think that it's an interesting concept. I think that it's pretty to look at all the colors, especially on the cards. The cards are just like, they just have, all of these just like color combinations. And I think that it can be really pretty to look at all of the different colors. I think that in a large group, seeing how everybody, especially the more creative people, or the more artistically minded people, seeing how they give clues relating to color itself, would be really fun and interesting. Honestly, this is probably not really a game that I would enjoy, but I think it could be an interesting sort of social experience to see how other people who are better at this sort of thing would interact with this game. I think that could be neat.
Nice. All right. Well, this was our discussion on Hues and Cues, a guessing game of colors and clues by the OP Games. We appreciate them sending us a copy. We have other games upcoming from them, so stay tuned to the channel to hear our views and thoughts and all the nice artwork on the other games they sent us. So yeah, this is we'll see you guys next time on our next vlog. Toodles!